Dienzio and perhaps Old School in the mid lane, or even a CP Kestrel out of the jungle. So interesting stuff there, but we haven't seen any Churnwalker yet today. I definitely think that that can be something that is very successful in 5 versus 5. We actually saw it a lot in the community leagues very early on into 3.1. It seems like the meta has shifted a little bit. Tony seeing a lot of play now that he, for the most part in ranked 2, he was permanently banned. But these teams are actually getting to play him in these 5v5 competitive games, and I think it's great to see his kit coming to the Sovereign's Rise.
Yeah, there's so many playmaking opportunities with Tony, with the taunt alone, let alone the bada bing that can come through, the extra barriers he can provide, the stuns. It's very, very versatile hero, but competing against a Churnwalker and a Krull, that's a lot of crowd control built into their 2 kits as well. So this could be a very CC-heavy matchup.
Absolutely, and one of the best heroes to pair with that Churnwalker is Samuel, the AoE, once he starts those Malice and Verdicts with his Drifting Dark. If you have multiple people chained up, that is going to start doing a ton of damage, and that's something the Tribe's really going to have to be careful about.
Yeah, you have to be very wary of not only your positioning, but your opponent's positioning as well when the team fights start breaking out. Idris going to be picked up too. This is another hero that in the community tournaments we saw a lot of play, usually with the CP build path, going for that extra range, the big damage out of the Chakram. But again, it's a hero that we have not seen yet today in the preseason invitational.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to go ahead and say that is going to be Old School in the mid lane playing that. I have seen him play that a ton in scrims. He's very good at it. He's very comfortable on it. And then it's Grace, another hero that we have not seen yet today that can be played in very different roles.
So even though they have the Celeste, do you think it's going to be the Idris going into the mid lane?
Perhaps. Celeste could be
There's a lot of options for that.
It is a lot of options. I have actually seen Tribe running a bit of Celeste jungle, which would be a little bit different. As far as who plays what, it's just going to come down to comfort picks. School's very comfortable on both Celeste and Idris.
And the Grace going to come through as well. Another new hero for us today, but we've seen what Grace can do. It's a little more risky, I think, to play Grace in 5v5 than it was in 3v3 because you only have one target at a time that you can throw that heal onto. But again, it's all about that crowd control. It's about the anti-engage that Grace can offer. You know, when Krull goes running in, especially now Rona getting picked too, a little surprised to see the Rona picked into the Grace, but if those two go in on a target, Grace puts down a Holy Nova. If she stuns up both of them, they're going to be in a world of hurt.
With Max and Gabe kind of flexing back and forth between captain and top lane, I think that they're going to tend to gravitate towards a lot of the captain heroes that can be played in the top lane. One thing that we've seen a little bit of in 5 versus 5 is weapon power Grace in the top lane. She grabs a Sorrow Blade, she grabs a couple of monocles, she uses her A to go in, and it is just a ton of burst damage, and that is something that Hammers potentially could have to watch out for, especially because it would be considered a comfort pick for both Max and Gabe.
And you look at the composition they have, there's a lot of burst damage there. With a Idris Chakram, Celeste Helios, you throw in, you get that poke damage with the range that you have, and then once a target gets a little bit low, Grace goes in and finishes people off, essentially, with that Benediction. So there's definitely a lot of burst, and the Kashka to come out as well. Just, this is all about burst on the side of Tribe. This is what we've talked about, where you need to have that composition, a win condition. Their win condition is picking a target and deleting them.
Absolutely, yeah. Whoever's on Samuel, I feel bad for you already. You are definitely going to be a focal point for the side of Tribe. Oof. They're going to try and utilize a lot of resources onto the Sam with all of that burst damage. And if he steps out of position just for a second, see you later.
Yeah, I like the Batiste pick here to round it up. They needed something to help protect that Samuel. Obviously, you can peel a bit with the Krull. You can peel a little bit with the Rona if you get like a Shiver Steal onto her, although that's not really super common. But then grabbing that Batiste, just having a little bit more crowd control in order to try and keep your carry safe was absolutely necessary.
So now that we have our final selections and we've talked about the individual heroes a bit, how do you think about the team composition or lack of composition that has gone together into this matchup?
Tace did a great job explaining that Tribe's composition all going to be about picking out a target and absolutely deleting it. Hammers is going to have to figure out a way to be able to combat that. I really like the Batiste there as their last pick. Great counter to Kashka every time. She's so mobile. If you can drop that Ordained on her, that's going to do wonders as far as shutting her down.
And not only that, but their composition has a lot of AoE. Between the Churnwalker, the Samuel, and the Batiste, if you get an empowered Bad Mojo off onto a target that's also getting hit, you know, if in a full team fight with empowered Malice and Verdicts, and everyone is chained up, you're just going to be deleting the entire enemy team. You say, you know what, you guys can pick one target. We'll just take all 5 of you at the same time. So there is a lot of AoE potential on the side of Hammers Esports.
So if, say, for example, I had a 5-player team that was going up against a team that was all burst, all AoE, and they were probably going to try in and come and delete me, how do I delete them first? I
think itemization is one of the big ways you can go about it. You look to a lot of defensive items, especially the health defensive items. I think the item that I just completely drew a blank on, the
Husk.
Slumbering Husk. That is a brilliant item for countering the burst because it gives you that big chunk of fortified health. And if you negate that initial burst out of a burst composition, there's a long period of time before they can do that again, and it gives you a window of opportunity to then turn the fight back around.
Brilliant. Write that down. And here's another question. How would you deal with that if you're on the bursting team?
Bursting team, you have to make sure you're paying attention to some of those item cooldowns. So if they can go in, trigger the Husk, and once they know that it's off cooldown, they can just regroup, reset, and then go on to that same target, and then the item is basically useless.
Brilliant. And so for a team that would be going in with a high offense, what kind of items would they want?
I mean, you want to get that pierce so that if they start building armor or shielding, you can burst right through that. And a lot of it's just focusing on just getting your damage items out, get the reflex blocks so that you can go in, get that big burst, pop the Slumbering Husk, and then still get out of the fight. If you don't have those reflex blocks up, you'll go in, you'll pop the Slumbering Husks, and then you're going to get stunned and killed and caught out. So
which hero going into this match do the viewers need to keep an eye on for that massive amount of damage that's going to come out?
So, like Tasty mentioned, if Batiste is able to pick up some really big bad mojos, that's going to hurt a lot, especially if Churnwalker has him chained up. That being said, we have not seen any crystal-powered Batiste yet today. So if that is something that Hammers decides to pull out for the first time, Tribe's going to have to be really careful about it. Otherwise, if it's just weapon, it's not going to be as effective.
Well, let's see what weapons they actually do get, because we're going into the game right now.
all right, here we go. Game number 2 of North America. It's Tribe. Our first look at Tribe here in the VPL. One of the most hyped up teams coming into this preseason, taking on Hammers Esports. Dragonborn about to get underway. See again, a little skirmish over those tree ants. We're going to see that pretty much every game.
Yeah, this engagement early, always fun to see. Of course, always great to be here, Tasty, as we are here live in Las Vegas for the very first official Vainglory action of the year. It is just preseason, though. You know, we're starting off small, but I am excited to see where we get going here, both on the rise as well as just here in general at Vegas.
I mean, as much as we say it's just preseason, if you follow any of these players on Twitter, this is so much more than preseason. Than they, we talk about, oh, preseason is a chance for you to, work out your compositions, find out what works. That's not how these players are treating it. I don't think I've seen a single person on Twitter say, oh, it's just preseason, we're going to be figuring out what works. No, these players are looking to go all in and show that they are the team to beat.
Again, another contention down here by the weapon buff.
Hammer's going to be actually able to steal that one away, it looks like.
Gotta
if they can get everyone out, they were just fought for that healing treant, but that's going to be a first blood actually picked up by Tribe as they make the full team rotation. Dienzio in some trouble, but they find a second and a third kill. Tribe using their level 1 advantages, that burst damage they have. You don't want to fight a burst team at level 1 because they will win 90% of the time.
No, absolutely. That was a risky play here. Good job actually just by Tribe to make that rotation. I mean, that's what we talk about and we will be talking about. Exhausting is how important it is to respond to an engagement. You can see it, you see your team getting damaged. Don't just let them die off, right? Just don't let them lose their jungle or their lane. Try to go down the rotate. Tribe, great heads up to make that rotation coming down.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame Hammers for that because there was a good initial push in by Hammers. They just stuck around a little bit too long. They allowed Tribe to make that rotation, and once that rotation happened, that was when Hammers had to just cut their losses, say, all right, we got the healing treant, let's just get out of dodge and not lose anything. But instead, they stuck around a little too long, and now Dienzio with a good amount of damage already built up. You see tons of crystal bits to get that heroic
T-Tigers.
perk, and they find the first kill. T-Tigers on this Koshka. We mentioned T-Tigers was going to be a sub. They brought him in here today for this first game, and he is already making plays.
You know, just casually strolling down the jungle, picking up 2 kills right off the bat there. That's something you have to watch out. Koshka still is famous for that early game presence. The late game, I don't think we really know. Like, it's just a lot of uncertainty about how you play some of those burst heroes into late game that I think we'll see the pros kind of figure out and develop for us going throughout the preseason and into the regular seaseason. But nice early start, 5-0 for
Yeah,
Tribe.
I think the initial plan is you don't go into the late game
Well.
with these burst heroes. You just win the game before you even get there. And that's what T-Tigers is going to be able to do with this Koshka. If they can find these advantages throughout the early game, they're going to build up such a large lead for themselves that it won't go to the late game. So you see already going in for more invades, looking for man rotation. Again, Dienzio moves up from the bottom lane for this rotation to get the Crystal Treant, and then immediately goes back down to the lane. They are not pulling any punches when they make these rotations.
Yeah, it's such a good rotation. It's leaving Cruel nothing. Cruel rotates into the enemy jungle to see if he can take any farm. There's nothing to take. T-Tigers had cleared that out just moments before. So again, constant ways of denying the enemy team the ability to find gold, to take gold away from you.
And the way they set that up was T-Tigers cleared out the jungle, went to the bottom lane, helped Dienzio push up that
Exactly.
bottom lane of minions so that then Dienzio could make that rotation up with him without losing any CS himself. And then, of course, use that reverse movement speed buff to get back down into the lane for Dienzio. So they take just about everything possible and leave nothing for Hammers, and they don't lose anything themselves as a result of it. So again, that's the kind of rotations that we're going to have to start seeing from really everyone if you're going to want to keep up.
Yeah, so important if you can always, especially if you can steal away the Crystal Orb. You take that away as well as a Treant from the enemy side of the jungle, you're already positioning yourself in for a good space of gold, a decent amount of CS and gold lead for the next few minutes. We are seeing that dual mid lane support. The captain seems to basically live in the mid lane with the carry.
Also, we are seeing what FlashX was talking about on the desk, where Gabe Vizzle is playing the captain role, while Max Green is playing in that solo laner, playing the Grace, who is known as a captain, but can very easily make that move into the lane by building her with the weapon power. So, just as FlashX was talking about, Tribe is doing it right here before us.
Dienzio definitely likely on this Idris, building just pure CP. You see he builds 5 CP crystal bits just right out the gate, just saying, hey, I'm building straight crystals, so I'm okay just stacking crystal items on and filling out my inventory.
Well, it's also done so that it's the cheapest way and quickest way to get yourself into that heroic perk, which you really need on the Crystal Idris to be effective. Otherwise, you're stuck trying to be in melee. You're not getting the extra damage on your basic attack. So it's the way to go. If you're going to be playing the Crystal Idris, you just load up on crystal bits and get that perk online as early as possible. And we saw what Dienzio was able to do. As soon as he got that perk, they immediately found a kill off of it. And now they're up 6-0 as a result of these movements that they're making. And you see it going deep. They're at the tier 3 turret. Tribe is in the bottom lane already. It's just so much pressure that Dienzio and T-Tigers are putting out because of the amount of burst they have. They know that they can just safely make these plays.
Solar Storm Stripe coming in just to help finish off that turret. And T-Tigers, his rotation's been bottom heavy, but it's worked out perfectly for them. They've been able to put so much pressure, and Grace, Max Green just really denying almost any ability for top lane to find
does
any.
get caught out there, but I don't think Tribe's going to be too upset about that. First kill for Hammers, as you mentioned, and so not really going to be the end of the world. Just a misstep in the rotation from Old School there as he was trying to move over and help out the rest of his team a bit. But they have 2 turrets now destroyed in the bottom lane. Standing solo again, looking for anything. His entire jungle has been constantly getting stolen away, and there's nothing in the enemy jungle for him either. He's going to be falling very far behind on this Kroll, and we all know what happens to a Kroll that gets far behind. It is so difficult to have any sort of impact.
Yeah, when you look at the side of Hammers, their lineup, it's not a lineup that can get behind and still win team fights. It is one that, you need, unless you go long in the fight, which that's the challenge. The burst that's coming out of Tribe, at least early on, is not going to let these team fights go very late. So Hammers, they need to find a way. One of the ways I think they could do that is they need to learn how to turtle in 5v5. It's, I think, one of the biggest challenges pros have had is right here at the top, right?
Boy. He's going to get caught up, stunned up by the Yummy Catnip Frenzy, and taken down. Gets the heal from Max Green, and they just immediately go right back underneath the turret. And can you see how quickly they're melting That's going to be girls on boys standing solo,
Yeah,
taking out the one turret there. But again, it's getting traded on the other side of the map. So it's not really an advantage that they're able to find there. It's just going even, which when you're behind, going even is great. However, you have to make sure that you don't continue to fall further behind because those two are going to keep pushing top, and now they found standing solo. He's going to be going down here eventually. Dienzio finding that kill, and with that push still going on in top, this is now going to be Tribe finding an advantage.
Tribe looking to at least push. They might have chewed off too much. Max Green, he's got caught up here, so I think he's just going to sacrifice himself for a few moments. Yeah, he's going to go down to another kill. This does, though, allow Ghostwing to be going over to Tribe, as we can see right there down on the minimap. Tribe has secured it, and that's a big buff for them at the 8-minute mark.
And that's something that the top tier teams are going to be doing is if you give up something on one side of the map, always be getting something else across the other side. They lose a turret in bottom, but they take a turret up top. They lose a kill up top, but they take a Ghostwing down bottom. They are constantly just finding an advantage. Anytime that they give their opponents anything, they're looking for something else for them to take. Gabe Vizzle whiffs a little bit with that bada bing. Would have been nice to grab standing solo, pick him off, find themselves a kill, but it still pushed him away, allowed them to take that crystal orb once again. That crystal orb has pretty much belonged to Tribe all game long.
Yeah, it's gone every single time. From the very first minute of the game, we've seen Koshka Koshka's great at clearing out the jungle and then rotating in. So it's something you just have to be mindful of the enemy team to, like, you got to counter it somehow.
So much damage roaming out from Tribe is Youngjae just going to be melting through. Does get a bit of healing thanks to his sustain and the healing flask. But the turret, you can't heal the turret. That's going to be going down. Now they're looking to target Eliminate. He is going to be trying to just kite away from Hell's Heart. Does connect onto Gabe Vizzle, but that's not a target they're going to be able to do anything with. So again, another turret taken by Tribe, and they should be able to get out here. Dienzio in a little bit of trouble, but he wants to go aggressive. Gets the fountain out of Gabe Vizzle. And now they're just going to be able to continue pushing. Here's that push that happened top, just continuing to put pressure on. They're in the enemy base now. Tribe just absolutely tearing through hammers at this point.
Goodness. That
middle turret is going to fall. The fight is on. That's Yumi Catnip Frenzy going to be locking up Shaded Talent, and he's going to, or sorry, not Shaded Talent. He's going to be going down, standing solo, and they're continuing to push on. Eliminate the next target. Eliminate is going to fall. 3 kills picked up. The first armory getting targeted already. We are only 10 minutes in, Dragonborn.
Yeah, and that's a mid lane push. Now, the only downside to pushing so aggressively mid lane is if things start to turn around, but you get a Black Claw, there's not as many objectives to take. But
it just gets right onto the crystal, though.
It takes some time, though. No, it takes some time. So you've got to make sure you secure it and then push with it. But it's not like Tribe hasn't been clearing off the side lanes. I mean, those top and bottom lanes are almost gone as well. You've got one turret apiece there. So they're doing just fine. I mean, they probably don't even need to get the Black Claw.
Yeah, and look at the gold lead right now. 10,000 gold at about 11 minutes. That is a massive disparity. I don't think we've seen a gold lead that large yet today. So Tribe absolutely living up to the expectations here in their first showing in the preseason.
Yeah, and they're just behind in items too. So the gold translates into the items. Staying solo only with the offensive tension bow. Youngjae, he's only got a Dragon's Heart. Dragon's Eye. So, already, just every time a team fight breaks out, they're at a disadvantage. They just have to find a way to slow the game. We've talked about turtling in 5v5. It's pretty new.
Very difficult.
Very difficult, very challenging, very new, though, to a lot of these players on how they're going to accomplish it. And another Ghostwing capture looks like it's going to be going over. Yeah, honestly, it could be soloed at this point. They don't even need to worry.
Yeah, T-Tigers in a little bit of trouble up in the top side of the map. But again, making sure that they get some. They brought a few people up top to try and contest T-Tigers. He doesn't even go down here, and they still get that Ghostwing. So, again, advantages across the board for Tribe. Now T-Tigers, he's going to get spotted out here, but I think Hammers, they just want to get the turret.
They want the turret, but they leave the mid open, and you can see, look how fast they've pushed down.
And T-Tigers just going to be delaying these recalls. That's 2 members that he's got. If he can just keep them alone in mid, this is going to open up the door. They've got a kill in the base. They finally take down T-Tigers, but it's now a 4-on-4 situation, and Tribe are just so far ahead. You can see the Vein Crystal starting to take some damage. It's still pretty durable with 2 armories up. Here comes some turnaround damage from Youngjae on this Samuel. Heal's going to come through from the Grace to keep everyone in fighting shape. And Tribe realized, okay, maybe that was a little too aggressive, a little too early to try and finish this game off. We're just going to back out, clear out everything along the way. probably just look to push one of these two side lanes, take another armory down, because again, if you aren't aware, the Vein Crystal is more durable the more armories are up. So while with 2 armories up, it still takes quite a bit of damage to actually burn through that Vein Crystal.
It does. T-Tiger's picking up the Spellfire. An item we don't see come out too often on these crystal carries, but one that we've heard a lot of people talk about how the potential of that item, the amount of damage it does.
Standing solo, getting caught. Sorry to cut you off there, but he's going to be able to get out. So go ahead and continue a Spellfire discussion. We've seen, like you mentioned, a few people really big on the item.
It's a very powerful item, and it's gotten several buffs over the last couple of updates, but an item that we just don't see players very comfortable with using. Again, taking a lot of your crystal damage and just delaying it over a time period.
Not connecting. Would have been blocked even if it did connect. Solar Storm goes a bit wide too. Now they're going to be looking to push in onto this bottom turret. They have Koshka pushing top lane as well. So again, splitting Hammers, forcing them to make the decision of where they want to put their attention. You can see a lot of damage going on to Young Jae. He's going to be in having to recall. Does get out safely, so that's at least some promising news there. T-Tiger's in some trouble. He takes the turret down though, so almost willing to sacrifice himself. But then Gabe Vizzle shows up and says, "You know what? You're going to get out alive." If he tried to chase, there would have just been a fountain. But the kill does get picked up onto Old School, as the numbers game kind of catching up to Tribe, getting caught out there 4-on-3. Hammer's able to find that 1 kill. Now Gabe Vizzle still extremely durable. You can see Max Green thinking about trying to go in as well. He has that the Divine Intervention to throw on to Gabe Vizzle if he can get in range, but he's just going to Gabe Vizzle use that escape with the ultimate. And should be able to get out underneath this turret. Now the rest of the team can collapse. This is way too deep for Hammers, committing too hard to trying to find that kill. They've lost one. Girls on Boys is going to go down as well. It's 2 kills picked up. Young Jae on the backside will get met by a Grace. Here comes a Solar Storm. It clips a little bit, but it doesn't even necessary, as it's another couple of kills and an ace coming through for Tribe, and that should do it.
That was an incredibly strong performance by Tribe. We've talked about how they are coming into the season one of the top teams in the league, and they are showing it right here. And, 15-minute game, but honestly, they had dominated that. It was just about over at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, this was all Tribe from the start, really. They got off to a great beginning to this game. Went up 5 or 6 kills right off the bat, and just never looked back from there. There was a couple times where Hammers, got a pick onto one target, but every single time it felt like they got a kill, they were giving up something else on the other side of the map, and that's credit to Tribe and their shot calling, their decision making to go through and force those opportunities. Say, okay, here's